Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living."
I want for that one person to go about their day a whole different version of them.
Yeah, like
themselves. Like they're going to come into life like, I'm gonna tear it up. No, for real, tearing it up.
Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. Don't let anything stand in the way of the light that shines through this form. Risk being seen in all of your glory.
find yourself and everything comes to you.
Nice.
You will literally attract everything that you deserve once you do it yourself.
Yep.
You want to be in the driver's seat of your own life, because if you're not, life will drive you.
Failure is good. And we look at it so negatively.
Okay, so let's change the script. No, seriously, let's change the script.
What's good, everybody, and welcome to Into the Closed Mind, where we venture off into topics that'll free the mind.
We are your hosts, Riss and Eladia, and we will be your guides through this ongoing journey of life.
It is our last episode.
We did it, y'all. We finished our first season. This is going to be our last episode, and it's a great last episode.
Honestly, we will admit we kind of slacked for the past 2 weeks. But
we are back.
We are back, and we're catching up.
Yeah.
But
you're going to have them slip-ups, baby.
I was going to say, that goes into this episode, I feel like, perfectly, because it is okay to take time to yourself.
So if you can't put your all into something, don't do it at all.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. That's like...
Damn! He said, nah, this is so bullshit.
Yeah, no.
No, but also... You know, kind of like, I don't remember which episode I said it on, but nobody's going to notice unless you say it. And y'all probably didn't even know that we didn't come out last weekend.
They didn't.
I mean, last week, but we on and popping and we back. But
okay. So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
I want to ask you what self-care is to you. Like, how would you define it?
Self-care for me is taking time outs. One thing that I struggle with is anxiety and depression. So if I'm getting way into my head, then I will literally be like, hey girls, I'm not in the headspace to be 100% there for you right now. So I need to go into my room and either just take a nap, which is always my thing, is I need to sleep this out. I don't know if that makes sense. So I love to take naps or showers. That's my self-care.
Me too.
Really?
Yes. Seriously.
First of all, taking shower, right?
I walk outside and I'm just like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Going outside after a shower is just like, yo, the world is beautiful.
No, wrong. Not what I was talking about.
Really?
Not what I was talking about. I'm talking about I go outside and I'm ready to come in and take a shower. You're talking about you take a shower.
Did the air just touch me?
I'm like, I feel like I smell like a dog. Going back in.
Damn.
You're like, yes, after a shower, I love to
No,
go
I don't take that many showers. But when I do take a shower, I'm just like, all right, I just washed all the demons off. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of go into what you were talking about.
Okay.
So self-care, you said you get depressed and anxiety a lot, like easy. So that's why you do those things. Yeah. So we often think that self-care is like that kind of stuff, like going to get your toes done, doing something that de-stresses you, that kind of takes that weight off of you. But I feel like the step that we are forgetting is the most important step of self-care, is identifying it. Like identifying what is giving you that anxiety and what is depressing you.
Yeah.
You got to call yourself out you got to write shit down. Like that is something that has changed the game for my self-care, because I feel like that was like my excuse to do things for myself for a long. That's why people look at self-care as a luxury, because we say, oh, self-care day, like I'm going to go get my nails done. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that for myself. But what are you really doing? You're just trying to escape what the...
cover it up.
Yeah. So do you feel me?
Oh, I know. Okay, yeah. Because now I'm looking at self-care a whole different way.
Yeah, it isn't what we think it is. That's why that quote is a quote.
Whoa.
Self-care is not luxury. It is not you masking all of the things that you're struggling with.
Wow.
Isn't that a beautiful way to look at it?
Okay, because now I'm looking at it like, all right, like I would care for you. I would care if you're sad, or I would care if you're like, you lost your job or something. Mm-hmm. So for me, now I'm looking at my self-care as in like, Hillary, you need to check in with yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So that's what I'm saying.
That's exactly what it is.
So I've always thought of self-care as in treating yourself.
Yes.
Like treat yourself. But really it's checking yourself and caring for yourself.
Yes.
And caring for yourself doesn't mean doing something for you materialistically or physically.
Ooh, I just love that I can see a light bulb. I literally saw like a light bulb.
Did you see my face? You were literally all I got to see. I was like, I was like, what? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so what I have started to do as a form of self-care is I write everything. So my notebook is full of it. Like I always write my affirmations. I always write my gratitude. But what I've started putting in my journal is I'll write down the shit I never followed through with.
Wow.
I'll write down the stuff I failed at because I quit. You know what I mean? So I'll write down the stuff that I'm disappointed in myself for, or like something that I know disappointed somebody else.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So kind of like checking yourself, like really like
evaluate your decisions.
Yes, exactly. And confronting it and embracing it.
Ooh.
I have to embrace it to move from it. I have to tell myself like, you did that. You can't go back. You can't change anything. So what you need to do now is learn from it and just accept yourself. Stop beating myself up for it, because that's why I'm getting all that anxiety. That's why I'm getting all that depression, because I am beating myself up over it.
Wow.
Right. It's a different way to look at it.
Oh, it is.
And then that's when you can start doing the things that you feel like is self-care, because this is the first step.
Yeah, that's the work.
Yeah. And then after that, you're like, okay, well, I feel like I deserve a nap. I deserve an hour nap. Like, or I deserve to go get my toes done, because I finally understand what it is that's making me feel all of these feelings. Mm-hmm. And now I should reward myself for allowing myself to confront myself, embrace it. And
man, that's a game changer, Riss. For real. I'm excited. I'm excited to start doing that. Because like I said, I was writing for a while and then I stopped. And it's really hard to get into something that you stop because you're like, I'm going to get to it. But I think that's something that I need to commit to, because I don't know if you saw on my story where I found that book that was Open Mind.
Yeah.
So I committed to reading it every night, like the day. I mean, I know you should read it in the morning, but I think it's better for me to read at night. So every night I read it, and I'm just like, every page that I have wrote since the day that read since getting that book has been like, oh, wow. Like the last episode that we were talking about, Trust Your Struggle, where it says like, stop trying to live the life that you want. You need to let God kind of guide you into the life that he wants for you. It was saying that, social media kind of gives you the idea that, you can have whatever you want.
Yes.
But it's not like that.
At all.
At all.
At all.
So I think that committing to that book is like me committing to opening my mind in a way that's going to give me that reassurance that, hey, everything's going to be okay. So I think that writing is important for me to start again, because
I love that.
I thought that was a lot of self-care. It made me start to understand myself, understand where my mind was in those certain days. So yeah, I think that's great. I'm excited to start. I think I'm going to start today.
Yes.
I am going to start today.
So how you were just talking about a book, the book that did that for me, that made me start to realize like, okay, it's called What Happened to You. And it's a interview book by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Perry. I think it's Dr. Perry. He's a psychiatrist or something.
Wow.
It is a great book. When I'm not even done yet, but girl, like when I say that, one, I cried because I was sitting there, because as I'm reading it, I'm writing down, like, he's like kind of giving you ways to, because it's about trauma. Mm-hmm. It's like confronting your traumas, how to cope with it, how to like it's like a whole, like he gives you a whole bunch of different scenarios. Mm-hmm. And I just like was sitting there, and as I'm reading it, I'm thinking of myself. I'm thinking of my kids. I'm thinking of my best friends' kids. Like I'm thinking about everyone around me, and I'm like, wow, we are all so fucked up because we don't understand how much we've been through and how big of an effect that it has on our brain development. Because it's about the brain. Like from when you are a baby, your brain is on overdrive trying to develop its own way of looking, like perceiving things. So for example, it said some parents will literally like give baby eye contact and do it with love, like, and be like just like loving them and like talking to them and making them feel loved, like it's a comfort thing. But other parents will give them eye contact as a way to be like, I'm about to beat the fuck out of you. You know what I mean? Like they don't resonate. Yeah, they don't resonate eye contact with love. They resonate it with, I'm about to get my ass whooped. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, girl.
Like, because I mean, yeah, I feel like every parent kind of does that. But at the same time, I know that when me and Milani have like conversations and I'm looking her in her eyes, she just looks like she just is in love. You know what I mean? And I can tell that we did our part by making her feel that love when we do that with her. You know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
But it also talked about how fucked up kids are whenever you separate from your spouse or your significant other. And all I could think was Denelli and Milani are going to be completely different. They're going to perceive things completely different because I'm not with their dad. And Milani got to experience a home, and Denelli has to experience too. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's not even the topic that we're on, but that book is what made me start to understand all of this. Like,
no, so we're at self-care. We're obviously like, you know how self-care is the main, and you're giving just the webs.
Yeah.
So what you're speaking on has exactly, you're explaining what that book is giving us.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to read that book.
That book is, when I say it's
because I've
so
always
good.
been trying to find, why am I so hard on myself?
Dude.
And they said that goes back to pleasing your parents, not getting enough validation, not getting enough.
When you grow up with a narcissistic parent, like, there's just so much, girl. That book just makes you just be like, you're like, yeah, oh my God. Like,
I'm reading it.
I was literally sitting there like, fuck, like everything makes sense. Cause I'm such a people pleaser. I'm such a like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. So I'll sit through hell, literally, just so I don't hurt the other person's feelings. I'll hurt myself more than I'll let, and then it builds up to resentment towards that person. But it's just like all of this stems from the past, from my childhood.
Yeah.
And it's little things that my parents don't even think affected us. And that's why, like, my grandma tells me, bringing up my grandma again, my grandma tells me all the time, like, she's like, you don't even know what you're doing to these kids right now. And I'm just like, I do. I really do. Like, I feel like everyone thinks that I'm just being very selfish and that I'm not thinking about what's going to happen to them in the future. But I literally sit here and I cry about it. I'm like, my poor babies, dude. But I'm going to make sure that they know how to heal from the traumas that I put them through, and to let them know that I'm genuinely sorry and I love them, and that none of this is because of them. Mm-hmm. Because that's something I feel like if my mom or my dad could have done for me, I wouldn't be so fucked up. If they could just sit there and own their shit and try to help us grow from it.
Wow. Yep.
But that's what that book does to you, girl. It makes you sit there and feel so bad for your kids. Like, it makes you sit there and be
girl, you don't got to do that. I do that my own. Trust me.
No, seriously. But like it makes it's worse. Like, it gets real deep, and you literally sit there.
Okay, so maybe the book isn't for me because I already overthink this whole: am I being the best mom I can? Are my kids okay? Are my kids okay? Was I too hard? I mean, it's a great thing. My mom and a lot of my friends say, if you're thinking about if you're doing good enough, you're doing okay.
Yeah, no, and that's true. And that's what he says in the book. He literally says that. He says some people will go on with their life thinking they're doing everything right. He said, and those are usually the people that have no clue what they're doing to the people around them.
And I think that's the most beautiful thing about me learning what self-care means to you and finding a whole new way to look at it. Mm-hmm. Because these are the ways, these are the two different ways that I can teach my children.
Yes, because one will resonate better with the other.
I think they both kind of fit
perfectly with each other.
Together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it kind of goes hand in hand. Yeah. First of all, you need to care for yourself in the aspect of knowing your feelings are valid, but knowing that you can't dwell on them, but also, and looking back on them, but also knowing that, hey, I'm like rewarding yourself and all that. It's important. Because there's a lot of people that are like, that achieve something and they're all like, there's no need to celebrate. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, there is. Like, yes, you accomplish something big. Mm-hmm. And, you might be one of those people that don't feel like if it's not a huge change in your life that you can't celebrate. Like, no. Like, even if you have to go home and drink a glass of wine to your favorite music, like, that is rewarding yourself. It doesn't have to be like buying a whole new lens for your camera because you got a
or going out
contract with somebody. Like, no. Or like you said, going out. If you're not a going out person, at least like play your favorite video game or, like
do something that makes you feel happy.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, or if you did something, if you failed at something, but it was still a big success. So say you got a huge interview with a television broadcasting, studio that you've always wanted to be a part of, but you didn't get the job. Celebrate that you even got to that interview.
No, literally.
So there you go. It's kind of like, I failed. And, validating those feelings and those, the failures.
But you had the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
And you should just be proud of yourself for that. So, yeah.
So the negative and the positive. Yeah, self-care is important. And I love that you just opened my mind to a whole different road.
No, yeah. And I'm happy that, that's why I started it with the question. Because everybody has a different perception of everything in life. And that's why I was like, I wonder what she thinks. Because everyone thinks self-care is doing, treating themselves. Just treating themselves.
This is called the self-care package, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Extended self-care package.
So does this make sense to you? Self-care was us kind of owning up to our learning our feelings. Yep. So this just wraps up not wraps up the episode, but
it does it perfectly. It just flowed. The whole season flowed perfectly.
So y'all, we made this book in the beginning of our our podcast. Again, going into this podcast, not knowing how our conversations were going, we just knew that we wanted to do this extended self package. We had all of our episodes together with our reflection sheets. And I honestly feel like this is like a book, like a whole chapter of our life.
No, literally.
Like,
and
this
it's
is
like,
insane.
it was like therapy for me. I'm not even kidding. Like, I sat here and every time I literally listened to our podcast over and over because I'm like, okay. So I try to apply everything that we say.
Oh, yes.
Because I am so bad at taking my own advice. Like, I could talk a good talk.
Right. Right. Apply this to your self-care.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going through those feelings, you know, we talk in every episode, we are talking about our failures or situations that we've been in, that we've grown from. So even if you kind of want to make a dupe of this episode, do it with your best friend or do it with yourself, where you can kind of be like, this is the same situation, or this applies to that same episode that Riss and Eladia, you know, was talking about. I think it's important to kind of go onto these subjects.
Yeah, and stem from them
Yes.
and add your input, because like I said, everyone has a different perception. Everybody has a different way of coping, and maybe your way would be better for somebody else. Like,
right. So comment your definition of self-care. Give some examples of your self-care.
Yeah, how you care for yourself when you're feeling anxiety or stress.
Or something other than that. Like, what do you feel
whenever you feel like you need self-care?
Right. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. So we are obviously near the end, but I think that we picked the self-care package as our first season because, again, going into opening the mind, you got to understand yourself. And in the last episode, we talked a lot about trusting your process, trusting yourself. And in this episode, we're talking about identifying who you are, what made you what and who made you the way that you are. So identify those in I would say a writing like write today as a little bit of self-care.
That's the activity.
Okay.
It's like a little paragraph
nice.
Thing. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is crazy. Any other notes that you got?
Not really. I did want to talk about, before you even did that whole thing, I wanted to talk about how we even came up with this particular topic. Just like, how did we even come up with that? Like, what made us, because I really feel like this happened at the perfect time in both of our lives.
Right.
Like, what made us want to talk about this? Like, because I don't remember. I'm serious.
Honestly, Riss, I remember sitting at the table and I know, what was it?
Was it when we were talking about our story?
All I know is I was going to put the 7th episode into one of these episodes and you're like, nah, Hill, self-care is not a luxury, needs to be a whole separate episode.
I know, but like how, I'm saying like the whole self-care thing.
Oh.
Like, how did we even come up with the theme of this?
Because we told each other that we were both going through it. So it was either we've been through it before, or we've applied it, or it's something that needs to be talked about, or something that we need to learn about. Because I remember our first conversation was talking about those books that we were reading about all the self-care. Yeah. So I think that's how it was made. I don't know if that's correct, but
I don't know either. I just, like, I was literally, before I came here, I was sitting in the car and I was like, this is just so weird, because it has literally made me grow so much as a person. Just talking about all of this. And this is kind of like, I've always kind of tried to do this stuff on my Instagram, like, and get on my stories and talk about it. But like, I don't know, like, it's different with this. Like, it's really made me have to dig deep into my life and into what. I just thought that was weird. I didn't know how we started, and I wanted to know.
I think this was a strong season.
It was. Like, I feel like these last two episodes are intense. Like, I feel like these were, like, really, really good episodes.
I really hope that people rewatch these episodes. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Because these episodes are to be rewatched. Because how we were talking about in the beginning, like, there are levels to this, and you're going to go down, and you're going to go up. Yeah, and you're going to go down, gonna be like and you're going to go up.
Steady journey.
Yeah. And I find myself going back to the podcast myself, like, when I'm not in my right mindset, like, what do I need to listen to right now? And definitely trust your struggle and trust your process was something that I wish I would have heard when
you were going through your shit.
Yeah. But I'm here now, and I'm just living it.
Well, thank you guys for being a part of this journey with us, and for even supporting our little, how would I even say that?
Our big.
Facts.
Our big, our long journey.
Our huge this was a big accomplishment.
This was a huge accomplishment. And I'm so glad that we finished it.
Me too.
And we didn't get discouraged. You know,
because
I'm not
we
gonna
missed
lie.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Because we missed 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks? I thought it was only one. Okay. So obviously we missed 2 weeks, but you know, again, we came in strong. Like we've came in every episode. So to those who are in the same boat where you weren't as consistent as you wanted to be, don't let that discourage you, because you can come in 10 times harder.
Yep.
And you just got to keep going and learning from where you were. So this is our last episode. This is the last time we'll be talking about the self-care package. We'll probably
throw it in every now and then.
Yes. But we appreciate you guys sticking with us. We appreciate all of your all of the people that have been sharing the reflection activities. Again, we do have one last reflection activity, so fill that out. Post those on your social media and tag us in those so we can repost them, and also look at them and kind of get connected with you like we wanted to.
If this episode or season brought any value to you, please go back and share any of the ones that you just feel like, what's the word that I'm looking for?
Resonated?
If it resonated with you, or if you feel like it's going to resonate with a friend, family, whoever, I don't know. I don't care. Share it with them. Share it on your Facebook. Share it on your Instagram. But yeah.
Yeah. We will be back next season with guests. I'm excited about that.
I am too.
So this season, we didn't want to add any guests. We wanted to get connected with each other before we bring anybody else into our minds. So this is the end of the extended self-care package. Thank you for letting us open your mind.
See you next season.